The lawyers walked through the diner doors at exactly 10:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, their black suits cutting through the morning breakfast crowd like knives through butter. Amara Johnson was carrying a pot of coffee, refilling Mrs. Henderson's cup for the third time, when she noticed them. 3 men in expensive suits, followed by a 4th man in his early 30s wearing a navy blue blazer and an expression that made her stomach drop. Amara Johnson? The tallest lawyer's voice carried across the diner, and conversation stopped mid-sentence. Forks paused over plates of eggs. Coffee cups hung in the air. She set the coffee pot down on Mrs. Henderson's table with shaking hands. Yes. We need to speak with you about Harold Westbrook. The lawyer's face was stone, giving nothing away. It's urgent. The younger man in the blue blazer stepped forward. His jaw was tight, his dark eyes angry. I'm Julian Westbrook, Harold's grandson, and we need to talk about what you've been doing to my grandfather. Amara's heart hammered against her ribs. The eviction notice in her purse suddenly felt heavier. The medical bills stacked on her kitchen counter flashed through her mind. The way Harold had smiled at her yesterday morning, pressing an envelope into her hands, insisting she take it. For Destiny's treatment, he'd said. Please. Let me help. I haven't done anything wrong, she whispered, but her voice barely carried. Her legs felt weak. That's what we're here to determine. Another lawyer opened a briefcase, pulling out a stack of papers. We have documentation showing significant financial transfers from Mr. Westbrook's accounts to yours over the past 6 months. We need to discuss your relationship with our client. The diner had gone completely silent. Amara could feel every eye on her. Her coworker Brenda stood frozen by the kitchen door. Mr. Patterson, the owner, started walking toward them, his face concerned. Harold is my friend, Amara said, her voice stronger now despite the trembling in her hands. He's been coming here for months. I've never asked him for anything. Julian laughed, but there was no humor in it. Right. You just happened to befriend a wealthy, elderly man whose late wife left him a real estate empire worth millions. Convenient. Heat flooded Amara's face. Shame mixed with anger. It's not like that. Then explain the transfers. Explain why a waitress is receiving thousands of dollars from my grandfather. Julian's voice rose. Explain why an old man who barely knows you is paying your rent, your daughter's medical bills, and God knows what else. Julian. The oldest lawyer put a hand on the young man's shoulder. Let's handle this properly. But Julian shook him off. No. I want answers. My grandfather is 78 years old. He's vulnerable. And I will not stand by while someone takes advantage of him. Amara's eyes burned with tears, but she wouldn't let them fall. Not here. Not in front of everyone she worked with, everyone in her neighborhood who came to this diner. Harold offered to help me. I didn't ask. I would never. They all say that, Julian cut her off. Every person who preys on the elderly says they didn't ask. That the victim offered. It's textbook elder abuse. The words hit Amara like physical blows. Elder abuse. The room spun slightly. She grabbed the back of a chair to steady herself. This couldn't be happening. Harold was her friend. He'd sat with her on her worst days. He'd listened when she cried about Destiny's diagnosis. He'd held her hand when she showed him the eviction notice last month, tears streaming down her face as she apologized for being emotional. I need you to sit down, the tall lawyer said, gesturing to an empty booth. We have questions and we'd prefer to handle this civilly rather than involving the police at this stage. Police? The word made Amara's knees buckle slightly. She had a 6-year-old daughter at home with her neighbor. Destiny needed her. The medical appointments. The prescriptions. The special diet. If something happened to Amara, if she was arrested, what would happen to Destiny? Please, she whispered, looking at Julian. Really looking at him. He had Harold's eyes, the same deep brown, but where Harold's were warm and kind, Julian's were cold with suspicion. Please just call Harold. He'll explain. This is all a misunderstanding. My grandfather isn't taking my calls right now, Julian said bitterly. Apparently he's too busy with his new friend to speak with his own family. Before Amara could respond, Mr. Patterson reached them. What's going on here? Amara, are you all right? Sir, this is a private matter, one of the lawyers said. This is my diner, Mr. Patterson replied firmly. And Amara is one of my employees. If you're accusing her of something, I have a right to know. We're not accusing, the tall lawyer said smoothly. We're investigating concerning financial transactions between Ms. Johnson and our client. Harold Westbrook, Mr. Patterson said, recognition crossing his face. The old man who comes in every morning. Sits at booth 7. That's him, Julian said. And apparently he's been funding Ms. Johnson's lifestyle for the past 6 months. Lifestyle? Amara's voice cracked. I work 60 hours a week. I take the bus because I can't afford a car. My daughter has a chronic illness that requires constant treatment. Harold offered to help because he's a kind person, not because I manipulated him. We'll see what the evidence shows, the lawyer said, opening his briefcase further. Now if you'll sit down we can begin. Amara looked around the diner. Mrs. Henderson looked concerned. Tommy, the cook, stood in the kitchen doorway with his arms crossed. Brenda had tears in her eyes. These people knew her. They knew she worked hard, that she was honest, that she struggled but never complained. But looking at Julian's face, at the lawyer's professional detachment, Amara realized none of that mattered. To them, she was just another person trying to take advantage of an old man. No matter what she said, they'd already decided she was guilty. The diner door opened again. Everyone turned. Harold Westbrook stood in the doorway, his silver hair neatly combed, wearing his usual cardigan over a pressed shirt. But his face was different than Amara had ever seen it. His jaw was set, his eyes blazing with an anger that transformed his usually gentle features into something formidable. Julian, Harold's voice cut through the diner like thunder. What the hell do you think you're doing? Have you ever been judged unfairly, accused of something you didn't do? Amara's world is about to turn upside down, but will the truth save her, or destroy everything she's built? Subscribe and comment below what you think happens next. Your support means everything to this story. The February morning 6 months earlier had been brutally cold. Amara arrived at the diner at 5:30 a.m., her coat thin against the wind, her fingers numb as she unlocked the side entrance. The early shift paid an extra $1 per hour and she needed every cent. She was setting up the coffee station when Harold first walked in at 8 a.m. He moved slowly, carefully, using a wooden cane. His shoulders were hunched beneath a thick winter coat, and his face had the hollow look of someone who hadn't slept properly in a long time. Good morning, Amara called out, grabbing a menu. Sit anywhere you'd like. He chose booth 7 by the window. Not because of the view, Amara would later learn, but because it was where he used to sit with his wife, Eleanor, every Sunday morning for 43 years. Coffee? Amara asked, pot already in hand. Please. Black. His voice was rough and used. She poured carefully, noting the way his hands shook slightly as he lifted the cup. Take your time with the menu. No rush. Thank you, he said, and something in his tone made Amara pause. It wasn't just gratitude. It was relief, as if he'd expected something different. Something colder. She left him to study the menu and returned to her other tables. The morning rush started. Construction workers needing quick breakfasts, office employees grabbing coffee to go, the regular retired folks who came for companionship as much as food. When she returned to booth 7, Harold was still looking at the menu, but his eyes were distant. Need a recommendation? Amara asked gently. He looked up, startled, as if he'd forgotten where he was. What's good here? The pancakes are famous. Mr. Patterson makes them from his grandmother's recipe. The omelets are great too. Real cheese, fresh vegetables. And Tommy, our cook, makes the best hash browns in 3 counties. A small smile touched Harold's lips. Your enthusiasm is convincing. I'll have the pancakes and 2 eggs scrambled. Good choice, Amara wrote it down. And I'll keep that coffee coming. She delivered his food 15 minutes later, and he ate slowly, methodically, like someone who'd lost the joy in eating but maintained the routine. When Amara came to refill his coffee, she noticed he'd barely touched the pancakes. Not good? She asked, concerned. No, they're excellent, Harold said quickly. I'm just not as hungry as I thought. Something in his eyes stopped Amara from walking away. A loneliness so deep it was almost visible. She glanced around the diner. The rush had passed. Only a few tables were occupied and Brenda could handle them. Mind if I sit for a minute? Amara asked. My feet are killing me and you look like you could use some company. Harold's eyes widened slightly. I don't want to take up your time. You're not. Promise? She slid into the booth across from him. I'm Amara, by the way. Amara Johnson. Harold Westbrook. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Amara knew better than to push. Sometimes people needed quiet more than conversation. My wife died 3 months ago, Harold said suddenly, staring at his coffee. Cancer. She fought for 2 years, but in the end. I'm so sorry, Amara said softly. We used to come here every Sunday. This booth. She'd order the waffles, I'd get the eggs Benedict. We'd read the newspaper together, do the crossword puzzle. 43 years of Sundays. His voice broke slightly. I don't know why I came today. Tuesday isn't Sunday. But the house is so quiet. Amara reached across the table and gently placed her hand over his. You came because you needed to. That's reason enough. Harold looked at their hands, then at her face. You're very kind. You deserve kindness, Amara said simply. We all do. Your tables? Harold gestured to the other customers. They're fine. Brenda's got them. Amara smiled. Tell me about your wife. What was her name? Eleanor. Ellie. Harold's face softened. She was a teacher. 3rd grade. She used to say that 8-year-olds were the perfect age because they still believed in magic but could have real conversations. She retired 10 years ago and we were going to travel. See all the places we'd put off. But then she got sick and... You took care of her, Amara finished. I tried. But watching someone you love fade. Harold shook his head. I'm sorry. You don't need to hear this. I asked because I want to hear it, Amara said. Sometimes talking helps. They talked for 20 minutes. Harold told her about Eleanor's love of gardening, her terrible singing voice that she inflicted on him anyway, the way she'd leave notes in his lunch every day even after he retired. Amara listened, really listened, the way she wished someone had listened to her when her husband, Terrence, walked out. When Harold finally left, he insisted on paying for a meal he'd barely eaten and left a $5 tip on a $12 bill. He seems nice, Brenda said, watching him walk slowly to his car through the window. He's lonely, Amara replied quietly. Aren't we all? Brenda said, but not unkindly. That evening, Amara returned to her apartment exhausted. The bus ride took 40 minutes, and by the time she climbed the 3 flights to her unit, her feet were screaming. Her neighbor, Mrs. Chen, opened her door as Amara passed. Destiny was good today, Mrs. Chen said in her accented English. We did homework, she ate lunch. But she was coughing more. Worry spiked through Amara's chest. Bad. Not bad, but more than yesterday. You have her medicine? Yes. Thank you so much for watching her, Mrs. Chen. I don't know what I'd do without you. She's a good girl. No trouble. Mrs. Chen smiled. You work too hard, Amara. Bills don't pay themselves, Amara said, trying to keep her voice light. Inside the apartment, Destiny was coloring at the small kitchen table, her inhaler within reach. At 6 years old, she looked fragile, her brown skin paler than it should be, dark circles under her eyes that no child should have. Mama? Destiny looked up, her face brightening. She wore a red sweater that Amara had found at the thrift store, bright and cheerful. Hey, baby girl. Amara kissed the top of her daughter's head. How are you feeling? Okay. Mrs. Chen made me soup. That was nice of her. Amara looked at the drawing. A house with flowers and a big sun. This is beautiful. It's us, Destiny explained. You and me in our house when I'm better. Amara's throat tightened. You will be better, sweetheart. The doctors are helping. But the medical bills told a different story. They sat in a folder on top of the refrigerator, growing thicker each month. The treatments Destiny needed weren't fully covered by Amara's basic insurance. The specialist, the test, the medications. It was drowning them. That night, after Destiny fell asleep, Amara sat at the kitchen table with her calculator and bills. Rent, $950. Electric, $87. Utilities, $65. Phone, $45. Groceries, $200 if she stretched. Destiny's medications, $150 for the copays. The medical debt that went to collections last month, $2,400. Her paycheck, $1,800 for a good month with tips. The math didn't work. It never worked. She thought about Terrence, her ex-husband, who'd left 6 months after Destiny's diagnosis. I can't handle this, he'd said. It's too much. She's sick all the time and you're always stressed and I just can't. He sent $50 a month when he remembered. Sometimes 2 months would pass with nothing. Amara put her head in her hands. She was so tired of fighting, of working, of pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. But giving up wasn't an option. Destiny needed her. She went to bed at midnight and woke at 5 a.m. to do it all again. Harold came back the next day. And the day after that. Always booth 7. Always at 8 a.m. By the end of the week, Amara knew his order by heart. Pancakes, 2 scrambled eggs, black coffee, orange juice on Thursdays. He started staying longer, reading the newspaper, occasionally doing the crossword puzzle. Amara would sit with him during slow periods and their conversations grew deeper. She told him about Destiny, though not about the bills. She never mentioned the struggles. That wasn't why she talked to him. She talked to him because he listened, because beneath his grief was a sharp mind and a kind heart, because he made her laugh with stories about Eleanor's attempts to teach him to dance. She'd put on Sinatra and insist we practice, Harold said one morning. I have 2 left feet, but she never gave up. Even near the end, when she could barely stand, she'd make me hold her and sway to the music. That's beautiful, Amara said. I miss dancing, Harold admitted. Isn't that strange? I was terrible at it, but I miss it anyway. It's not the dancing you miss, Amara said gently. It's her. Yes, Harold agreed. Always her. By the end of February, Harold's face had changed. The hollow look had faded. He smiled more. He started ordering full breakfasts and actually finishing them. One day he brought Amara a book. I was cleaning out Eleanor's things, he explained. She loved children's books. This was one of her favorites. I thought your daughter might enjoy it. The book was The Secret Garden, beautifully illustrated, clearly expensive. Amara's first instinct was to refuse. But looking at Harold's hopeful face, she remembered the story's principle: accept with gratitude. Thank you, she said, emotion thick in her voice. Destiny will love this. Good, Harold said, looking pleased. Ellie would have wanted it to go to a child who'd appreciate it. Amara took the book home that night and Destiny's eyes went wide. It's so pretty, Mama. A friend gave it to me, Amara said. For you. They read it together. Destiny curled against Amara's side, and for that hour the bills and the sickness and the fear all faded. There was just a mother and daughter, lost in a story about a girl who found healing in a garden. That night Amara thought about Harold and felt grateful. Not for the gift itself, but for the reminder that kindness still existed in the world. She had no idea how much that friendship would come to mean, or how much it would cost them both before everything was over. March brought warmer weather, and with it a routine solidified. Harold arrived at 8 a.m. every morning without fail. Rain, shine, or the one morning when snow came late and made the roads treacherous. He was there in booth 7 waiting for his coffee. You didn't have to come in this weather, Amara said that snowy morning, concerned. The roads are terrible. I have nowhere else to be, Harold said simply. And I look forward to my breakfast here. Just breakfast. Amara teased gently. And the company, Harold admitted with a small smile. Their friendship deepened naturally. Harold told Amara about his work history, how he'd started with one rental property 40 years ago and built it slowly into a real estate portfolio. Nothing fancy, he insisted. Small apartment buildings, a few commercial properties. Eleanor and I were careful with money. Saved more than we spent. Amara told him about her childhood in North Carolina, growing up with her grandmother after her mother died young. About meeting Terrence in college, how charming he'd been, how everything fell apart when things got difficult. Some people run from hard times, Harold observed. Says more about them than you. I keep telling myself that, Amara said. But some days it's hard not to wonder what I did wrong. You chose wrong. That's all. Doesn't make you wrong. Harold squeezed her hand across the table. You're doing an incredible job with your daughter. Anyone can see that. These conversations happened in stolen moments. 10 minutes here while the diner was quiet. 5 minutes there while Brenda covered her tables. Amara never neglected her work, but she prioritized Harold's well-being too. She noticed when he looked tired. When he seemed sad. When he needed to talk or needed quiet. Other regulars noticed too. Mrs. Henderson, who came in every Wednesday for the lunch special, commented on it. That old man really looks forward to seeing you. He's lonely, Amara explained. His wife died. He doesn't have much family. Well, you're good for him. He smiles now. When he first started coming, he looked like death warmed over. Amara also noticed things about Harold. The way his clothes, though clean and neat, were starting to look worn. How he'd button his cardigan wrong sometimes. Small signs that he was struggling with daily tasks. One morning in mid-March, she noticed his hands were shaking worse than usual as he tried to cut his pancakes. Let me help, she said quietly, not wanting to embarrass him. I'm fine, Harold said, but his voice was tight with frustration. I know. But humor me. Amara cut the pancakes into smaller pieces quickly, efficiently, then stepped back. There. Now they're easier to manage. Harold looked at her, and his eyes were suddenly wet. Thank you. Anytime. That same week, Destiny's school called Amara at work. Mrs. Johnson, Destiny had a coughing fit in class. The nurse thinks you should pick her up. Panic flooded through Amara. I'll be right there. She rushed to Mr. Patterson. I'm so sorry. I have to leave. My daughter's school called. Go, he waved her off. Is she okay? I don't know yet. At the school, Destiny was in the nurse's office. Her breathing labored despite her inhaler. Has this happened before? The nurse asked. Sometimes, Amara admitted. Usually we can manage it at home. I think she needs to see her doctor today. The problem? Destiny's specialist appointment wasn't until next week, and urgent care visits cost $200 up front. Money Amara didn't have. She took Destiny home instead, called the doctor's office and begged for an earlier appointment. They couldn't fit her in until Friday. 3 days away. That night, Amara barely slept, listening to Destiny's breathing, ready to rush her to the emergency room if it worsened. By morning, Destiny seemed better and Amara went to work exhausted. Harold took one look at her face when she served his coffee and knew something was wrong. What happened? Amara tried to brush it off. Just a rough night. Amara. His voice was gentle but firm. Tell me. So she did. Not meaning to, but the words tumbled out. The school call. Destiny's breathing. The cost of urgent care. The Friday appointment that felt too far away. Let me help, Harold said immediately. No, Amara said automatically. I can't ask you to do that. You're not asking. I'm offering. Harold pulled out his wallet. How much do you need for urgent care? Harold, no. That's not why I told you. I just needed someone to listen. I know, but I'm still offering. Please, let me do this. Amara felt tears pressing at her eyes. I can't take your money. It's not taking if I'm giving freely. Amara, I have more money than I know what to do with. Eleanor and I never had children. No grandchildren to spoil. The money just sits there. Let me use it for something meaningful. For someone I care about. His words were so sincere, so earnest, that Amara felt her resistance crumbling. She thought about Destiny struggling to breathe. About waiting 3 more days while her daughter suffered. $200, she whispered. For the urgent care visit. Harold pulled out $300 bills. Take it. All of it. For the visit and medications. I can't. You can. And you will. Because your daughter needs it and I'm offering it freely. Harold pressed the bills into her hand. Please. It would make me happy to know I helped. Amara looked at the money in her hand, then at Harold's face. She saw genuine concern there. Genuine caring. And she remembered the story's principle. When offers are made, accept them with gratitude. Thank you, she said, her voice thick with emotion. Thank you so much. You have no idea what this means. I think I do, Harold said softly. Now go. Take your daughter to urgent care. Don't wait until Friday. Amara did. That afternoon she took Destiny to the clinic, and the doctor prescribed a stronger inhaler and a course of antibiotics for a respiratory infection that had been developing. You did right bringing her in, the doctor said. This could have gotten worse. That night, tucked into bed with her new inhaler close by, Destiny looked up at Amara. I feel better, Mama. Good baby. That's good. Was it expensive? Don't worry about that. But I heard you on the phone. You were worried about money. Amara stroked her daughter's hair. A friend helped us. A very kind friend. Like an angel? Yes, Amara smiled. Just like an angel. The next morning, Amara came to work early and baked Harold a batch of cookies. Nothing fancy, just chocolate chip from a box mix but made with care. She presented them to him with his coffee. What's this? Harold asked, surprised. Thank you, cookies. I can't repay you with money, but I can bake. Harold bit into one and smiled. These are delicious. Better than Eleanor's, but don't tell her I said that. Your secret is safe with me. How's Destiny? Much better. The medication is working. You saved us, Harold. Really saved us. You would have figured it out, Harold said. You always do. I just made it a little easier. But it wasn't a little easier. It was everything. And Harold continued to help in small ways. A children's book here. A scarf there when he noticed Amara's was threadbare. A toy for Destiny. Small kindnesses that added up to something huge. Other diner staff noticed. That old man really likes you, Brenda said one day. We're friends, Amara replied. He's got money, Amara. You can tell by his watch, his car. If he wants to help, let him. I don't want him thinking I'm using him. You're not. Trust me, I've seen people who use folks. You're not one of them. You care about him as a person. That's different. Amara thought about that. She did care about Harold. Not because of his money, which she'd only recently realized he had. She cared because he was kind, because he listened, because he'd become a constant in her chaotic life. And maybe that was okay. Maybe friendship meant accepting help sometimes, just as it meant offering it. By the end of March, Harold brought Amara an envelope. Inside was a check for $500. "What's this for?" she asked, shocked. "Rent. Bills. Whatever you need. I know you're struggling, Amara. Let me help." "Harold, I can't. This is too much. It's not enough. Please. For my peace of mind. I lie awake at night worrying about you and Destiny. Let me help carry the burden." Amara looked at the check. At Harold's earnest face. At the kindness in his eyes that reminded her so much of her grandmother. "Okay," she said quietly. "Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much." She used the money to pay the electric bill that was 2 months overdue. To buy groceries without counting every penny. To refill Destiny's prescriptions without panic. That night, Destiny had seconds at dinner for the first time in weeks. "This is yummy, Mama. Eat up, baby girl. Are we going to be okay?" Amara looked at her daughter's hopeful face. "Yes, we're going to be okay." And for the first time in a long time she believed it. April arrived with blooming flowers and renewed hope, but also with a phone call that shattered Amara's fragile sense of security. She was at work, wiping down tables during the mid-morning lull when her phone buzzed. "Miss Johnson? This is Dr. Patel from Riverside Children's Hospital. I've been reviewing Destiny's test results from her last appointment." Amara's heart dropped into her stomach. She stepped outside into the parking lot, away from customers. "What's wrong?" "Destiny's lung function has decreased significantly over the past 3 months. Combined with her other symptoms, I think we need to consider more aggressive treatment options." "What kind of options?" "There's a new therapy program. It's shown excellent results in children with Destiny's condition. But it's intensive. 3 sessions a week for 6 months, specialized medications, regular monitoring." "How much?" Amara's voice was barely a whisper. Dr. Patel was quiet for a moment. "With your insurance, you're looking at approximately $400 per week in copays and medications. That's about $1,600 a month." The number hit Amara like a punch. $1,600 a month. She made less than $2,000 after taxes. "I know it's a lot," Dr. Patel continued gently. "But without this treatment, Destiny's condition will likely worsen. There are payment plans, assistance programs I can connect you with." "I need to think about it," Amara managed. "Of course. But don't wait too long. Her lungs are weakening." After the call ended, Amara stood in the parking lot, shaking. The spring sunshine felt mocking. Around her, people went about their normal days while her world collapsed. She couldn't afford the treatment. Even with Harold's help, even with extra shifts, the math didn't work. She'd have to choose between Destiny's health and keeping a roof over their heads. When she went back inside, Harold was at his usual table. He took one look at her face and stood up. "What happened?" Amara shook her head. "I'm fine. Just a phone call." "You're not fine. Sit down. I have tables. They can wait. Sit." Something in Harold's tone made Amara obey. She slid into the booth across from him and suddenly everything poured out. The doctor's call. The new treatment. The impossible cost. The choice she couldn't make. $1,600 a month? Harold repeated. "I can't afford it. I can barely keep up with what we have now. But if I don't do the treatment, she'll get sicker." Dr. Patel said her lungs are weakening. "What if I lose her, Harold? What if I can't save my own daughter because I don't have enough money?" Tears finally came, hot and angry. Amara never cried at work, but she couldn't stop them now. Harold reached across the table and took both her hands. "Listen to me very carefully. You will not lose Destiny. She will get the treatment. All of it. I can't ask you to pay for it. You're not asking. I'm telling you. I will cover the treatment costs. All of them. For as long as she needs. That's thousands of dollars. Tens of thousands over 6 months. I have it." Amara, Eleanor and I were very comfortable. The properties, the investments, everything has just been sitting there since she died. I have more money than I could spend in 2 lifetimes. Let me use it for something important. For Destiny. "It's too much," Amara whispered. "It's not enough. That little girl deserves every chance at a healthy life. And you deserve to not have to choose between her health and your rent." Harold's grip on her hands tightened. "Please. Let me do this. For both of you." Amara looked at their joined hands. At Harold's sincere face. She thought about Destiny's labored breathing. About the fear in her daughter's eyes when she couldn't catch her breath. About the possibility of losing her baby girl. The story's principle echoed in her mind. When help is offered, accept it with gratitude. Okay, she said, her voice breaking. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Don't thank me yet. We need to set this up properly. Do you have the doctor's information? They spent the next hour during Amara's lunch break calling the hospital, talking to billing departments, setting up payment arrangements. Harold gave the hospital his credit card information directly, establishing himself as a guarantor for all of Destiny's treatment costs. We'll bill you monthly, the hospital administrator said. Is that acceptable? Perfectly acceptable, Harold replied. Whatever she needs. No limits. When they finished, Amara felt dizzy with relief and disbelief. I don't know how to repay you. Be my friend, Harold said simply. Keep sitting with an old man during your breaks. Keep making me laugh. Keep treating me like a person instead of a bank account. That's payment enough. You're so much more than a bank account. I know. Because you see me that way. Most people in my life only ever saw the money, the properties, the potential inheritance. Even my own grandson barely calls unless he needs something. This was the first time Harold had expressed bitterness about Julian. You have a grandson? Julian. He's 32. Smart, driven, works in finance in the city. But after Eleanor died he called once a month, maybe. Always rushing off the phone. Too busy for an old man. Harold's voice was sad. I don't blame him. Young people have their own lives. But it's lonely. Have you told him how you feel? What's the point? He'd just feel guilty, visit out of obligation. I'd rather have no visits than forced ones. Harold shook his head. Sorry? That's not your problem. Your feelings are never a problem, Amara said gently. You listen to mine all the time. They sat quietly for a moment. Then Harold smiled. Tell me about Destiny. What is she like? Besides books. She loves drawing. Colors. She wants to be an artist when she grows up. She draws these elaborate pictures of gardens and houses and families. Always bright colors. Always happy scenes. Eleanor would have loved her. I wish they could have met. Me too. Harold paused. Would it be alright if I met Destiny? I don't want to overstep. But I'd like to meet the little girl I'm helping. Amara's heart swelled. She'd love to meet you. How about this Sunday? I'm off. You could come for lunch. Nothing fancy, just sandwiches and soup. But Destiny would be so excited. I'd be honored. That Sunday, Harold arrived at Amara's apartment with a bouquet of bright flowers and a wrapped package. The apartment was tiny, the furniture secondhand, but Amara had cleaned until everything shone. Destiny answered the door wearing a green dress Amara had bought at a thrift store, carefully ironed. Her eyes went wide at the sight of Harold. Are you Mama's friend? The one who got me the book. I am, Harold said, bending down to her level. You must be Destiny. Your mama has told me wonderful things about you. I'm 6. I like to draw and read and I'm going to be an artist. The words tumbled out in typical 6-year-old fashion. An artist? How wonderful. I brought you something. Harold handed her the wrapped package. Inside was a set of professional colored pencils, 60 colors in a beautiful wooden case. Destiny gasped. These are so pretty. For all your artwork, Harold explained. Say thank you, Amara prompted. Thank you, Mr. Harold. Destiny threw her arms around Harold's legs, hugging him tight. Harold's eyes went misty. You're very welcome, sweetheart. Lunch was simple but happy. They ate sandwiches at the small kitchen table, and Destiny chattered about school, her friends, her favorite colors. Harold listened attentively, asking questions, genuinely interested. After lunch, Destiny showed Harold all her drawings. He praised each one, pointing out details she'd included, asking about her color choices. Watching them together, Amara felt something settle in her chest. This was what Destiny needed. Not just medical treatment but people who cared. Family, even if it wasn't traditional family. You have quite a talent, Harold told Destiny. Keep drawing. The world needs more artists. Will you come back? Destiny asked. To see my new drawings? I'd like that very much. From that day forward, Harold became part of their lives. He continued coming to the diner daily, but he also joined them for Sunday lunches. He came to Destiny's school art show. He sent funny cards in the mail. He became the grandfather Destiny had never had. And the treatment began. 3 days a week, Amara took Destiny to the hospital for her therapy sessions. The improvement was gradual but real. Destiny's breathing got easier. The coughing fits decreased. Her energy increased. The treatment is working beautifully, Dr. Patel said after 6 weeks. Her lung function is improving. Whatever you're doing, keep it up. We have help, Amara said simply. Well, it's making all the difference. By mid-May, Destiny was playing with other kids at school for the first time in months. She drew pictures of Harold with their family, a tall old man with white hair standing next to a woman and a little girl, all holding hands under a bright yellow sun. That's us, Destiny explained. My family. Amara looked at the drawing and felt tears prick her eyes. It's perfect, baby. But not everything was perfect. Bills were still piling up. The eviction notice arrived in late May, 3 months behind on rent, pay or vacate within 30 days. Amara tried to hide it, but Harold noticed everything. What's that paper you keep checking? Nothing. Just bills. Amara. She showed him the eviction notice. I've been putting everything toward groceries and utilities. The rent keeps getting pushed aside. The landlord has been patient, but his patience is running out. Harold didn't hesitate. How much do you owe? $2,800. But Harold, you're already paying for Destiny's treatment. I can't ask for more. You're not asking. I'm offering. No child should lose her home while fighting to stay healthy. Give me your landlord's information. This is too much. You've already done so much. And I'll keep doing it. Because that's what people who care about each other do. They help. Harold's voice was firm. Please. Let me handle this. Amara thought about Destiny. About stability. About not having to pack up and move while her daughter was in treatment. Okay, she whispered. Okay. Thank you. Harold paid the back rent that week and 3 months forward. When the landlord called to confirm, he couldn't hide his surprise. Someone really paid all this? Yes, Amara said. You've got a good friend. I do. The best. That night she called Harold. The landlord confirmed payment. Harold, I don't have words. You don't need words. Just keep being you. Keep taking care of that beautiful daughter. That's all I need. But there was something different in Harold's voice. A tiredness Amara hadn't heard before. Are you okay? She asked. Just tired. Getting old, I suppose. Maybe you should see a doctor. Maybe. We'll see. They hung up and Amara felt a flicker of worry. But she pushed it aside. Harold was fine. He had to be. She didn't know that Harold's health was declining. That he'd been hiding his own symptoms, his own doctor's visits, his own concerns. She didn't know that time was running out. But she would find out soon enough. June brought summer heat and longer days, but it also brought changes in Harold. Subtle at first, then impossible to ignore. He started arriving at the diner later, at 8:30 instead of 8 a.m. His steps were slower, more careful. He'd forget his reading glasses and squint at the menu even though he ordered the same thing every day. Twice he called Amara Eleanor by accident, then caught himself with an embarrassed laugh. I'm sorry. My mind wanders these days. It's okay, Amara assured him. You miss her. That's natural. But worry not at her. One morning, Harold's hands shook so badly he couldn't hold his coffee cup without spilling. Amara sat down across from him, ignoring the full diner. Harold, when did you last see a doctor? I'm fine. Just old age. You're 78, not 98. And you're not fine. Please, see a doctor. Harold was quiet for a long moment. I have been seeing doctors. Multiple doctors, actually. Amara's stomach dropped. What's wrong? My heart. It's not working as well as it should. They've put me on medication, changed my diet, all the usual things. But it's degenerative. It will get worse. Harold. Amara's voice broke on his name. I'm not telling you to upset you. I'm telling you because you deserve to know. You've become important to me, Amara. You and Destiny both. I need to make sure you're taken care of. We're not your responsibility. You're my family. The family I chose. That makes you absolutely my responsibility. Harold pulled out a folder from his bag. I've been talking with my lawyers. Setting things up. Your will. Among other things. I'm establishing a trust fund for Destiny's medical care. Enough to cover her treatment for years even after I'm gone. And I'm setting up monthly payments for you. Not charity. Think of it as salary for being my friend, my companion in my final years. Harold, stop. You're not dying. We're all dying, Amara. Some of us just know the timeline better than others. He pushed the folder toward her. Please. Look at these. Sign where indicated. It's all legal, all proper. Amara opened the folder with shaking hands. Documents about trusts, medical funds, monthly stipends. Amounts that made her dizzy. This is too much. Your family. My family? Harold's laugh was bitter. I have Julian. My only grandson. Smart kid, but he doesn't care about an old man beyond what he might inherit. He calls every few weeks, asks how I'm doing, but I can hear him multitasking during our conversations. Typing on his computer. Checking his phone. I'm an obligation to him. Have you told him about your heart? I mentioned it once. He said, "That's rough, Grandpa," and changed the subject to his latest business deal. Harold shook his head. Eleanor used to say I spoiled him. Gave him too much, expected too little. Maybe she was right. But it's too late to change that now. It's never too late. I'm tired of reaching out to someone who doesn't reach back. I'd rather spend my time with people who actually want to be around me. Harold smiled at her. Like you and Destiny. Does Julian know about the trust? About helping us? No. And I don't plan to tell him. He'll find out eventually, I suppose. But by then everything will be settled. A chill ran down Amara's spine. You're talking like you're saying goodbye. I'm talking like I'm being realistic. I could have 5 years. I could have 5 months. The doctors aren't sure. So I'm making arrangements now while I'm still clear-headed enough to do it properly. Over the next few weeks, Harold's lawyer came to the diner 3 times. Amara signed papers, felt guilty about it, but remembered Harold's words. This was what he wanted. What made him happy. You're giving that girl security, Harold said. Purpose. A reason to use my money for good instead of letting it sit in banks making other bankers rich. You could leave it to charity. I am leaving some to charity. Eleanor's favorite causes. But the bulk is going to people I care about. Destiny. A few others who were kind to us over the years. Julian will be angry. Julian will be fine. He has his own career, his own money. He doesn't need mine. But you do. Destiny does. And I want to give it to you. The summer progressed. Destiny's health continued improving. She was running now, playing, no longer the fragile child who couldn't catch her breath. Dr. Patel was amazed. Her lung function is almost normal. Whatever treatment protocol we're using, it's working better than I hoped. She's a fighter, Amara said. She has a good support system. That matters more than people realize. Harold continued his daily visits, but his appearances grew more sporadic. Some days he was sharp as ever. Other days he seemed confused, distant. He'd asked the same question twice. Forget what he'd ordered. One morning in late June he didn't come at all. Amara called his cell phone. No answer. She called his home number. No answer. Panic rising, she asked Mr. Patterson if she could leave early. It's an emergency. My friend, the old man who comes in every morning, he's not here and he's not answering. Go, Mr. Patterson said immediately. Take care of it. Amara had Harold's address from the legal documents. She took the bus across town to an upscale neighborhood she'd never visited. The houses were large, set back from the street, surrounded by perfect lawns. Harold's house was a 2-story colonial, painted pale yellow with white shutters. The lawn needed mowing. Newspapers were piled by the front door. Amara rang the doorbell. Knocked. Called out. Nothing. She tried the door. Unlocked. Harold, she called, stepping inside. It's Amara. I'm coming in. The house was dim, curtains drawn. It smelled stale and used. She found Harold in the living room, sitting in an armchair, staring at a photo of him and Eleanor on their wedding day. Harold? She rushed to him. Are you okay? He looked up slowly as if coming from far away. Amara? What are you doing here? You didn't come to the diner. I was worried. What day is it? Thursday. June 28th. Thursday, Harold repeated, confused. I thought it was Tuesday. Amara knelt in front of him. Harold, have you eaten today? He looked around vaguely. I'm not sure. Taken your medication? I don't remember. This was worse than she'd thought. I'm calling your doctor. No. I'm fine. Just tired. You're not fine. You forgot what day it is. You haven't eaten. You're not taking your medication. Amara pulled out her phone. I'm calling. And you're not arguing. Harold was too weak to argue. Amara called his doctor's office, explained the situation, and they advised taking him to the emergency room. I'll call an ambulance, Amara said. No ambulance. Too expensive. Harold, your heart. Then drive me. But no ambulance. Amara called a taxi. Couldn't afford it, but this was an emergency. At the hospital, Harold was admitted immediately. Tests showed his heart was functioning at 40% capacity. His medications needed adjusting. He was dehydrated and malnourished. He hasn't been taking care of himself, the doctor told Amara in the hallway. Does he live alone? Yes. He shouldn't. At this stage he needs monitoring. Either family or a care facility. He has a grandson. I can call him. Amara found Julian's number in Harold's phone. Took a deep breath. Dialed. Grandpa. Julian's voice was distracted. Is everything okay? This isn't your grandfather. I'm Amara Johnson. I'm a friend of Harold's. He's in the hospital. Silence. Then, what happened? His heart. He forgot to take his medication. He's going to be okay, but the doctors say he shouldn't be living alone anymore. Which hospital? Amara told him. Julian promised to come immediately. He arrived 2 hours later, still in his work clothes, a maroon tie loosened around his neck. He was tall, athletic, with Harold's eyes and a jawline that could cut glass. Handsome but cold. Where is he? Julian demanded. Room 412. He's sleeping now. Julian barely glanced at Amara as he rushed past. She followed more slowly, giving him space. Through the door, she watched Julian at Harold's bedside, his face a mix of worry and anger. When Harold woke, their conversation was tense. Why didn't you call me? Julian demanded. Why did a stranger have to call? I didn't want to bother you. Bother me? You're in the hospital with heart failure and you think that's bothering me? You're always busy. That doesn't mean I don't care. Julian's voice cracked. You're my grandfather. You're all I have left. Amara stepped into the hallway, giving them privacy. But she heard Harold's response. Then act like it. You call every few weeks for 5 minutes. You haven't visited in months. I had to collapse for you to show up. The argument continued, painful to overhear. Family dynamics Amara had no part in. She sat in the waiting area, checking her phone. Mrs. Chen had texted, Destiny was fine, don't worry. Julian emerged an hour later. He looked exhausted, aged beyond his 32 years. Thank you for calling me, he said stiffly to Amara. And for bringing him here. Of course. Harold is important to me. Something flickered in Julian's eyes. Suspicion? How do you know my grandfather? He comes to the diner where I work. We're friends. Friends? Julian repeated, his tone suggesting he didn't quite believe it. Yes, friends. Julian studied her for a long moment. I'm sure we'll be seeing more of each other. I'll be arranging care for my grandfather. It wasn't said warmly. It was a warning. Amara felt a chill but pushed it aside. Julian was just protective. That was natural. But as she left the hospital, she couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. That Julian's arrival meant trouble. She had no idea how right she was. The scene at the diner had frozen. Harold stood in the doorway, his face transformed by anger, while Julian and the lawyers stood near Amara like predators surrounding prey. The morning customers watched with wide eyes, their breakfasts forgotten. Julian, Harold repeated, his voice cutting through the silence. I asked you a question. What are you doing here? Protecting you, Julian said, but his confidence wavered. Grandpa, this woman has been taking advantage of you. We found evidence of large financial transfers, payments, gifts. You've given her thousands of dollars. Tens of thousands actually, Harold said calmly, walking further into the diner. He used his cane, but his steps were deliberate, steady. And every penny was given freely and with full knowledge of what I was doing. You're not well, Julian tried. Your heart condition, the medications, they can affect your judgment. My judgment is fine. Better than yours, apparently. Harold reached Amara and put a hand on her shoulder. This woman is my friend. She has shown me more kindness in 6 months than you've shown in 6 years. The lawyers exchanged uncomfortable glances. One of them, the tall one who'd done most of the talking earlier, cleared his throat. Mr. Westbrook, we're simply insuring. You're insuring nothing. Who hired you? Your grandson. He was concerned about potential elder abuse. Elder abuse? Harold's laugh was sharp. Julian, let me make something very clear. Amara Johnson has never asked me for a single cent. Not once. Every dollar I've given her has been offered freely because I wanted to help her and her daughter. She tried to refuse multiple times. I had to convince her to accept. People who manipulate the elderly are good at making it seem voluntary, Julian said, but his voice was less certain now. Manipulate. Harold's anger flared again. That woman works 60 hours a week trying to support a chronically ill child. She lives in a tiny apartment, takes the bus everywhere, skips meals to save money. When I found out about her situation, I chose to help. That's not manipulation. That's human decency. Amara stood silently, tears running down her face. She wanted to speak, to defend herself, but the words wouldn't come. Mr. Patterson stepped forward. I can vouch for Amara. She's worked here for 3 years. Honest, hardworking, never caused a single problem. Harold started coming in as a customer months ago. Their friendship developed naturally. I watched it happen. Several customers voiced agreement. Mrs. Henderson stood up. That girl is an angel. I've watched her help Harold, listen to his stories about his wife, sit with him when he was lonely. There's nothing sinister here, young man. Just kindness. Julian looked around at the sea of defensive faces. His certainty cracked. But the money is mine to give as I see fit, Harold finished. And I see fit to help someone who treated me with dignity and compassion when I needed it most. After your grandmother died, I was drowning. Amara threw me a lifeline. She gave me a reason to get up in the morning, someone to talk to, someone who actually listened. Do you have any idea how lonely I've been? Grandpa, you call every few weeks. 5-minute conversations where you're clearly doing something else. When I told you about my heart condition, you said, "That's rough," and started talking about your job. When I ended up in the hospital last month, a stranger had to call you because you don't check on me enough to notice I was missing. The words hung in the air like accusations. Julian's face went pale. I didn't know it was that bad. Because you didn't ask. You assumed I was fine and went about your life. But Amara asked. Every single day. She noticed when I was tired, when I was sad, when I needed to talk or needed quiet. She showed up at my house when I didn't come to the diner. She took me to the hospital. She cared. One of the lawyers attempted to regroup. Mr. Westbrook, perhaps we could discuss this privately. These are sensitive family matters. There's nothing private about what you did. You came into this diner and publicly accused an innocent woman of elder abuse. You humiliated her in front of her co-workers and customers. You threatened her with legal action. That requires a public apology. Grandpa, I was just trying to protect you. From what? From kindness? From human connection? From someone who actually gives a damn whether I live or die. Harold's voice broke slightly. Julian, I love you. You're my grandson. But you haven't been present in my life. And when someone else stepped in to fill that void, you accused her of crimes. Amara finally found her voice. Harold, it's okay. Julian was scared. I understand. It's not okay, Harold said firmly. And you're too kind. That's part of why I care about you. But this needs to be said. He turned back to Julian. I'm setting up trusts for Amara and her daughter. Medical funds, living expenses, education money. It's all been done legally with proper documentation and evaluations confirming my mental competency. My lawyers can show you the paperwork. How much? Julian asked quietly. Enough to ensure Destiny gets the medical care she needs for the rest of her childhood and Amara doesn't have to work herself to death. The exact amounts are none of your concern. I'm your grandson. I have a right to know. You have a right to nothing, Harold said coldly. I could leave my entire estate to charity and you'd have no legal recourse. But I'm not doing that. You'll still inherit the bulk of my assets. The properties, the investments, most of the liquid cash. But Amara and Destiny get their share first. And there's nothing you can do about it. Julian's face cycled through emotions. Anger, hurt, shame, resignation. Finally, he looked at Amara directly for the first time since Harold arrived. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I was wrong. I made assumptions based on fear, not facts. I was scared of losing my grandfather and I took it out on you. That was unfair. Amara wiped her eyes. You were trying to protect your family. I can't be angry about that. You should be angry, Julian said. I accused you of terrible things without even talking to you first. I brought lawyers to your workplace and tried to intimidate you. That's not okay. But I forgive you anyway, Amara said softly. Because forgiveness is the only way forward. Harold looked at her with such pride and affection that several customers teared up. See, Julian? That's the kind of person she is. You should try to learn from her. The lawyers were backing toward the door, clearly wanting to escape the situation. The tall one addressed Harold. Mr. Westbrook, given these circumstances, I think it's best if we withdraw from this matter. Agreed. And I expect no bill for today's harassment of Ms. Johnson. Of course. Our apologies. They filed out quickly, leaving Julian standing alone near the door. He looked lost, a confident man suddenly uncertain. I really am sorry, he said again to Amara. To you and to my grandfather. I've been a terrible grandson. You've been busy, Harold said, his anger fading into sadness. But busy is a choice, Julian. I won't be around forever. Decide what you want our relationship to be before it's too late. I want to be better. To do better. If you'll let me. Julian's voice was sincere now, stripped of defensiveness. I know I don't deserve another chance, but I'm asking for one anyway. Harold studied his grandson for a long moment, then sighed. Eleanor always said people deserve second chances. Fine. But you have to earn it. Starting with a real apology to Amara. Not just words. Action. What would that look like? That's for you to figure out. The diner had slowly resumed normal noise levels, though everyone was still paying attention to the drama. Mr. Patterson approached. Harold, why don't you sit down? I'll get you some coffee. On the house. Thank you, James. Harold let Mr. Patterson guide him to booth 7. Amara automatically reached for a coffee pot. Julian hesitated, then followed. May I sit? Harold gestured to the opposite seat. Julian slid in, looking uncomfortable. Amara poured coffee for both of them, her hands still shaking slightly. I'll give you two some privacy. Stay, Harold said. Please. You're part of this conversation. She sat next to Harold, feeling awkward. This was family business. But Harold wanted her there, so she stayed. Tell me about Destiny, Julian said to Amara. Her illness. What she's dealing with. It was an olive branch. Amara took it. She was diagnosed with chronic pulmonary issues when she was 4. It got worse over time. Breathing problems, constant infections, limited energy. We've been fighting it for 2 years with basic treatments, but it wasn't enough. And now she's on an advanced treatment protocol. It's working. She's healthier than she's been in years. She plays with other kids. She runs. She's starting to live a normal childhood. Because my grandfather is paying for it. Yes. The treatment costs $1,600 a month. I couldn't afford it. Harold offered to help. I tried to refuse, but he insisted. And it's saving her life. Julian absorbed this. How old is Destiny? 6. And her father? Gone. He left when she was diagnosed. Couldn't handle it. Julian's jaw tightened. That's terrible. You've been doing this alone? I have help now. Harold. My neighbor who watches Destiny while I work. The doctors. People have been kind. More than I was today. Today was a misunderstanding. Today was me being an ass, Julian corrected. Call it what it is. Harold sipped his coffee. At least you can admit it. That's growth. The three of them sat in uncomfortable silence. Finally, Julian spoke again. I want to see Destiny. Meet her. If that's okay with you, Amara. I promise I'm not trying to investigate or anything. I just want to understand who my grandfather has been helping. Amara looked at Harold, who nodded encouragingly. Okay. You can come to Sunday lunch. We have it every week. Harold comes. It's nothing fancy, just sandwiches, but you're welcome. I'd like that. Thank you. And Julian, Harold added. You should know Amara's apartment building is older, not in the best neighborhood. Don't judge. She works with what she has. I won't judge, Julian promised. I've learned my lesson about making assumptions. They talked for another 20 minutes. Julian asked about Harold's health, his medications, his doctor appointments. Harold answered honestly. His heart was weak but stable with medication. He might have years, might have months. No one knew. I should have been checking on you more, Julian said, pain in his voice. I got so caught up in work, in proving myself, in building my career. I forgot what actually mattered. Well, you remember now. That's something. When Julian finally left, promising to call in a few days, Harold sagged back in the booth. That was exhausting. But necessary, Amara said. He needed to hear those things. Did I go too hard on him? No. You told him the truth. That's what he needed. Harold smiled tiredly. You're very wise for someone so young. I'm 32. Not that young. To someone 78, everyone is young. He squeezed her hand. Thank you for being gracious with Julian. He didn't deserve it, but you gave it anyway. Kindness should always lead, Amara said. Even when it's hard. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Amara worked her shift, deflecting curious questions from customers, accepting support from Brenda and Mr. Patterson. When she finally got home that evening, Destiny was drawing at the kitchen table. Mama, you're home late. Sorry, baby. Work was busy. Amara kissed her daughter's head. How are you feeling? Good. We went to the park today with Mrs. Chen. I went on the swings. High ones. Amara's heart swelled. 6 months ago, Destiny couldn't walk to the corner store without getting winded. Now she was swinging at the park. That's wonderful. Is something wrong? You look sad. Not sad. Just tired. It was a long day. Did something happen with Mr. Harold? Children were more perceptive than adults gave them credit for. Sort of. His grandson came to visit. There was a misunderstanding, but it's okay now. Does his grandson like you? I don't think he knows me well enough to decide yet. He should like you. You're the best. Amara pulled her daughter into a hug, breathing in the scent of her shampoo, feeling her strong heartbeat, her steady breathing. This was what mattered. This moment. This child who was alive and healthy. Everything else she could handle. The days following the confrontation at the diner felt strange and tense. Harold came every morning as usual, but there was an undercurrent of worry. He'd apologized multiple times for Julian's behavior, though Amara insisted it was unnecessary. He was protecting you. That comes from love, even if it came out wrong. You're too understanding, Harold said. Most people would be furious. Fury doesn't fix anything. Forgiveness does. What Amara didn't tell Harold was that she'd been having nightmares. Dreams where lawyers took Destiny away, where she lost everything, where kindness was punished instead of rewarded. She'd wake in the middle of the night, sweating, checking to make sure Destiny was still sleeping peacefully in the next room. On Thursday, 3 days after the incident, Julian returned to the diner. It was 2 p.m. between the lunch and dinner rushes. Amara was wiping down tables when he walked in, carrying a large folder and wearing a blue shirt instead of his usual suit. "Hi," he said awkwardly. "Is now a bad time?" "No, it's fine. What can I get you? Coffee maybe? And a few minutes to talk if you can spare them." Amara poured him coffee and sat across from him in a booth. Up close, without anger clouding his features, Julian looked more like Harold. The same kind eyes, the same gentle curve to his mouth. "I've been doing research," Julian started. "About you. I hope that's not creepy, but I needed to understand who my grandfather has been helping." Amara stiffened. "Research? Nothing invasive. Just public records, asking around. I talked to your neighbors, some people who come to this diner, your daughter's doctor." He held up a hand. "I know how that sounds, but hear me out. I needed to know if I was wrong, and I was completely wrong." He opened the folder and pulled out several papers. "I talked to Mrs. Chen, your neighbor. She told me about the times you've helped her, translating documents when her English wasn't enough, driving her to appointments even though you don't have a car, just borrowing one from friends. She said you're the kindest person she knows." Amara didn't know what to say. Julian continued. "I talked to Mr. Patterson. He showed me your employment records. 3 years, never missed a shift unless Destiny was in the hospital. Always on time. Always professional. He said you once gave a homeless veteran your last $20 for a meal. He needed it more than I did. See, that's exactly what everyone said you'd say. I talked to Tommy, the cook. He said you tutor his daughter in math for free every Tuesday evening after your shift. I talked to Brenda, your coworker. She said when her car broke down last winter, you organized a collection among the staff and customers to help her with repairs. You donated the most even though you make the least." Amara felt tears prickling. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I was wrong about you. Completely, totally wrong. You're not someone taking advantage of my grandfather. You're someone who gives to everyone even when you have nothing to give. And somehow, my grandfather recognized that and wanted to help you for once instead of you helping everyone else." He pulled out more papers. "I also talked to Dr. Patel. With your permission, which he got from you this morning." Amara remembered the call. Dr. Patel had asked if he could speak with Harold's grandson about Destiny's case. She'd agreed, not knowing why. "He told me about Destiny's condition. How severe it was. How the new treatment has been like a miracle. He said without it, Destiny would likely have needed a lung transplant within 2 years. The treatment your daughter is receiving costs nearly $20,000 per 6-month cycle. My grandfather is paying all of it." "I know how much it costs," Amara said quietly. "Do you know what it means? My grandfather is literally saving your daughter's life. And you tried to refuse his help. Multiple times, according to him. That's not the behavior of someone trying to take advantage." Julian leaned forward, his eyes serious. "I came here today to apologize. Really apologize. Not just with words but with understanding. I understand now why my grandfather cares about you. You're a genuinely good person in a world that doesn't have enough of them. And instead of celebrating that he found you, I attacked you. I'm ashamed of myself." Amara wiped her eyes. "You were scared. I understand fear. Fear isn't an excuse for cruelty. I was cruel to you. I made accusations without evidence. I brought lawyers to intimidate you. That's not okay, no matter what I was feeling. But you're here now making it right. That counts for something. Julian smiled slightly. You're incredibly gracious. My grandfather was right about you. He pulled out one more paper. This is the documentation for your trust fund. My grandfather showed me everything. The amounts, the structure, the legal protections. It's all legitimate, all properly done. You're set up to receive monthly payments for the next 10 years, plus a separate medical fund for Destiny that will cover her treatment until she's 18. Amara looked at the numbers and felt dizzy. This is too much. It's not even a fraction of what my grandfather has. He's wealthy, Amara. Very wealthy. These amounts, while life-changing for you, are less than what he makes in interest each month from his investments. He can afford to be generous. But why me? Because you were kind when he was broken. Because you saw him as a person, not a bank account. Because you listened when no one else would. Because you showed him that life still had purpose after my grandmother died. Julian's voice grew thick with emotion. Because you did what I should have been doing, and I'll be grateful to you for that for the rest of my life. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Julian spoke again. The invitation still stands? For Sunday lunch. Yes. Come at noon. Harold will be there. I'd like to bring something. Flowers? Dessert. Destiny loves cookies. Any kind. Cookies it is. Julian stood, leaving money for the coffee. Thank you, Amara. For forgiving me when I didn't deserve it. For being the person my grandfather needed. And for letting me try to do better. After he left, Brenda came over. What was that about? Second chances, Amara said simply. Everyone deserves them. Sunday arrived with beautiful weather. Amara cleaned the apartment twice, nervous about Julian seeing where they lived. The building was old, the paint was chipped, the furniture was secondhand. But it was clean and filled with love, and Destiny's artwork covered every wall. Harold arrived first at 11:45, punctual as always. He brought flowers, bright yellow daisies that made Destiny squeal with joy. Mr. Harold, they're so pretty. For a pretty girl and her pretty mama, Harold said, bending down to hug Destiny. Julian arrived at noon exactly, carrying a pink bakery box and looking nervous. He wore jeans and a green polo shirt, casual in a way that suggested he'd thought carefully about not overdressing. Hi, he said when Amara opened the door. I brought cookies like you suggested. The bakery said these are popular with kids. Destiny peeked around Amara's legs, curious. Are you Mr. Harold's grandson? I am. You must be Destiny. Your mom told me you're an artist. I draw lots of things. Want to see? I'd love to. The ice broke immediately. Destiny dragged Julian to the kitchen table where her drawings were spread out. He exclaimed over each one, asking questions about her color choices, her subject matter. Watching them, Amara felt something ease in her chest. Harold caught her eye and nodded approvingly. Lunch was simple. Chicken salad sandwiches, fruit, chips. They ate at the small kitchen table that barely fit 4 people. Conversation flowed more easily than Amara expected. Tell me about your job, Amara said to Julian. I'm a financial analyst. Boring stuff really. I help companies manage their investments, plan their growth strategies. It's not boring, Harold interjected. He's very good at it. Made partner at his firm last year. Youngest person ever to do so. Julian looked embarrassed. Grandpa. What? I'm proud of you. Even if you're a workaholic who forgets to call his grandfather. I'm working on that, Julian said. I've blocked out Sunday afternoons. No work. Just family time. I'll believe it when I see it. After lunch, Destiny showed Julian her colored pencil set. Mr. Harold gave me these. They have 60 colors. 60? That's amazing. What's your favorite color to use? Purple. I'm drawing a purple garden. She pulled out her current project, an elaborate drawing of flowers and trees and butterflies, all in shades of purple. This is really good, Julian said sincerely. You have talent. Mama says if I practice I can be a real artist someday. Your mama is right. Watching Julian with Destiny, seeing his genuine interest and kindness, Amara felt her lingering worry dissolve. This was Harold's grandson. Family. And maybe, slowly, he could become part of their extended family too. As the afternoon wore on, Harold grew tired. I should head home. Rest a bit. I'll drive you, Julian offered immediately. My car is right outside. I can manage. Grandpa, let me help. Please. Harold looked at his grandson, really looked at him, and nodded. Okay. Thank you. After they left, Destiny helped Amara clean up. I like Mr. Julian. He seems nice. Do you think he'll come back? I hope so, baby. That night, after Destiny was asleep, Amara's phone rang. It was Julian. I just wanted to thank you again for today. Destiny is wonderful. You're doing an amazing job raising her. Thank you. That means a lot. And I wanted you to know I'm going to be around more. For my grandfather, yes, but also to help if you need anything. Not because I think you need rescuing, but because that's what family does. And Grandpa considers you family, which means I do too. Amara felt tears rise. We'd like that. Good. I'll see you next Sunday. And Amara? Thank you for giving me a second chance. Not everyone would. Everyone deserves a chance to do better. After hanging up, Amara sat in the quiet apartment, thinking about how life could change so quickly. How fear could transform into understanding, how anger could become friendship, how strangers could become family. She thought about Harold's kindness that started everything. About Julian's willingness to admit he was wrong. About Destiny sleeping peacefully in the next room, her breathing easy and unlabored. Hope, she realized, was a powerful thing. And kindness always led the way forward. The weeks following that Sunday lunch changed everything, though slowly and subtly. Julian kept his promise about blocking off Sunday afternoons. He showed up at Amara's apartment every week, always bringing something. Cookies, fresh fruit, a new book for Destiny. But he also started coming to the diner during the week. Not in a creepy way but casually. He'd stop by for coffee on his way to work, sit at the counter, chat with Amara during her breaks. Gradually she learned more about him. He'd lost his parents in a car accident when he was 12. Harold and Eleanor had raised him. They gave up their retirement travel plans to take care of a grieving, angry teenager, Julian told her one morning over coffee. I never properly thanked them for that. You were a child dealing with trauma, Amara said gently. They understood. Maybe. But when Grandma got sick, I threw myself into work instead of spending time with her. I told myself I was building a future, being practical. Really, I was running from watching another person I loved die. By the time she passed, I'd become an expert at avoiding emotional pain by staying busy. And then Harold was alone. And I kept avoiding. Kept working. Kept telling myself 5-minute phone calls were enough. They weren't. Julian stared into his coffee cup. I almost lost him because of my cowardice. If you hadn't been there, if you hadn't noticed he wasn't taking care of himself, he could have died alone in that house. Amara reached across the counter and squeezed his hand. But he didn't. And you're here now. That's what matters. You're very forgiving. I believe in second chances. And third chances. As many as it takes. Julian smiled, and Amara noticed it reached his eyes this time. He was slowly relaxing around her, becoming less the defensive grandson and more just a person trying to do better. One afternoon, Julian asked if he could visit Destiny's hospital therapy session. I want to understand what she's going through. What my grandfather has been helping with. Amara checked with Destiny first. A man wants to watch your therapy. Mr. Harold's grandson. Is that okay? Will he be sad? Some grown-ups get sad when they see me with the machines. Maybe a little. But I think he needs to see it. Okay. He can come. At the hospital the next Tuesday, Julian sat quietly in the corner while Destiny went through her respiratory therapy. The machines, the breathing exercises, the careful monitoring. It was routine for Destiny, but Julian watched with growing understanding on his face. Afterward, when Destiny was coloring in the waiting room while they talked to the doctors, Julian pulled Amara aside. I had no idea. When my grandfather said he was helping with medical costs, I pictured regular doctor visits, some medications. I didn't understand how intensive this is. 3 times a week for 6 months, Amara confirmed. Then we'll evaluate and see if she needs to continue. And if you hadn't been able to afford it? Her condition would have worsened. Maybe slowly, maybe quickly. We'd have ended up in emergency rooms, dealing with crises, possibly needing surgery or transplants. Dr. Patel said this preventive treatment is saving her from that future. Julian was quiet for a long moment. Then, my grandfather is a hero. He really is. And so are you. Raising her alone, working constantly, never giving up. That's heroic too. Amara felt her cheeks warm. I'm just doing what any mother would do. No, not any mother. A special one. The compliment hung in the air between them, and Amara felt something shift. A new awareness. She pushed it aside. Julian was Harold's grandson. This was complicated enough without adding romantic feelings. But over the following weeks, that awareness grew harder to ignore. The way Julian started lingering at the diner after other customers left. How he'd text her funny articles or pictures he thought she'd enjoy. How he'd started bringing coffee for both of them in the mornings, remembering that she took it with cream and 1 sugar. Brenda noticed. That man is interested in you. He's just being friendly. Girl, that's not friendly. That's interested. He looks at you like you hung the moon. He's Harold's grandson. It would be weird. What? Harold would probably love it. 2 people he cares about getting together. We're not getting together. We're barely friends. But Brenda just smiled knowingly. The truth came out on a Wednesday evening in late July. Amara had finished her shift and was waiting for the bus when Julian's car pulled up. Need a ride? He called through the window. I take the bus. It's fine. I know you take the bus. But I'm offering a ride. It's hot, you're tired, and I'm going your direction anyway. It wasn't true. His apartment was in the opposite direction. But Amara was tired, and the thought of the air-conditioned car was tempting. Okay. Thank you. They drove in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Then Julian spoke. I've been meaning to tell you something. About my research into you. Amara tensed. Okay. I talked to your ex-husband. You what? She spun to face him. I tracked him down. Called him. Told him I was looking into your character and wanted to hear his perspective. Julian, you had no right. I know. And I'm sorry. But I needed to understand the full picture. And what he said told me everything I needed to know about him and about you. What did he say? That you were difficult. That Destiny's illness made you crazy. That you wouldn't listen when he said you needed to accept she might not get better. That you wasted money on doctors and treatments that weren't working. That he left because you were destroying yourself and he couldn't watch it. Anger flooded through Amara. He said that. Yes. And then I asked him how much child support he pays. He said $50 a month when he remembers. I asked when he last saw his daughter. He said it had been about a year. Too painful to see her sick. I asked if he knew she was doing better now. He didn't. He didn't even know about the new treatment. Amara's hands were shaking. She pressed them against her legs. Then I told him exactly what I thought of him. That he abandoned a woman who needed support and a child who needed her father. That he was a coward who ran when things got hard. That Destiny was thriving now, beautiful and talented and smart, and he was missing it because he couldn't handle discomfort. Julian's voice was hard. He hung up on me. You shouldn't have called him. Probably not. But I'm glad I did. Because it confirmed what I already knew. You're raising an amazing child alone because her father was too weak to stay. You're working yourself to exhaustion because he won't help. You're fighting every day for her future while he pretends she doesn't exist. And somehow you're not bitter or angry. You're still kind, still hopeful, still believing the best in people. Tears were running down Amara's face now. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. I just wanted you to know that I see you. Really see you. And I think you're incredible. They sat at a red light. Julian reached over and took her hand. I also want you to know that my grandfather isn't the only Westbrook who cares about you. Amara's heart stuttered. Julian? I'm not asking for anything. I know this is complicated. My grandfather, Destiny's health, everything you're dealing with. I just wanted to be honest. He squeezed her hand gently. I think about you constantly. I look forward to Sundays because I get to see you. I come to the diner too often because being near you makes my day better. And I know it's too soon and maybe inappropriate, but I needed to tell you. The light turned green. Julian let go of her hand and drove. Amara stared out the window, her mind spinning. When they reached her apartment, she turned to him. I care about you too. But I'm scared. Of what? Of getting hurt again. Of Destiny getting attached and losing another father figure. Of complicating my friendship with Harold. Of everything falling apart. All reasonable fears, Julian said. So we'll take it slow. No pressure. Just spending time together, getting to know each other better. And if it grows into something more, we'll figure it out together. What about Harold? Grandpa already asked me about my intentions toward you. He did. Last Sunday. He pulled me aside and said, if you hurt that girl, I'll haunt you when I'm dead. Then he laughed and told me you deserved someone who'd put you first. He basically gave me his blessing, assuming I don't screw it up. Amara couldn't help but laugh. That sounds like Harold. So? Julian looked at her hopefully. Can we try? Slowly, carefully, but actually try. Amara thought about Terrence, about the pain of being left. Then she thought about Julian showing up every Sunday, bringing cookies for Destiny, listening to Harold's stories with genuine interest, texting her funny things just to make her smile. Okay, she said quietly. We can try. Julian's face lit up. Yeah. But slow. Really slow. Slowest pace ever. Glacial. Geological timescale slow. She laughed again and he grinned at her. There's that smile. I love that smile. Don't make me regret this. I won't. I promise. When Amara got upstairs, Mrs. Chen was sitting with Destiny. After the neighbor left, Destiny looked at her mother curiously. Why are you smiling? Am I smiling? A lot. Did something good happen? Amara hugged her daughter. Yeah, baby. Something good happened. That night, lying in bed, Amara thought about the past few months. How Harold had walked into the diner and changed everything. How Julian had gone from antagonist to potential partner. How Destiny was healthy and happy and growing stronger every day. Life was strange and surprising. Full of unexpected turns. But sometimes those turns led to beautiful places. She fell asleep smiling, hopeful about the future in a way she hadn't been in years. August brought sweltering heat and the 6-month mark of Destiny's treatment. Dr. Patel scheduled a comprehensive evaluation to assess her progress and determine next steps. Amara, Harold, and Julian all accompanied Destiny to the hospital for the appointment. In the waiting room, Destiny colored while the adults talked quietly. Harold looked frielier than he had in the spring, his skin papery, his movements careful. But his eyes were bright with interest as Julian described a new investment strategy. You're sounding more like the Julian I used to know, Harold said. Before you became all work and no life. I'm trying to find balance. Better late than never. When Dr. Patel called them in, Destiny skipped ahead, comfortable in the hospital setting after months of regular visits. The doctor pulled up her charts, comparing current lung function tests to those from 6 months ago. This is remarkable, Dr. Patel said. Destiny's lung capacity has improved by 40%. Her oxygen saturation is consistently normal. The chronic inflammation has resolved. This is honestly better than I hoped. So the treatment worked? Amara asked, barely daring to hope. It worked beautifully. Destiny, you're doing amazing. How do you feel? Good. I can run now without getting tired. And I don't cough as much. That's wonderful. Now here's my recommendation. We're going to taper the intensive treatment. Instead of 3 times a week, we'll do once a week for 3 months. Then every other week for 3 months. If she remains stable, we can move to monthly monitoring. She'll stay on maintenance medication, but the hard part is over. Amara felt tears flooding her eyes. She's really better? She's really better. You did it, Destiny. You fought hard and you won. Harold put his arm around Amara's shoulders. Julian squeezed her hand. Destiny looked confused about why everyone was crying. Happy tears, baby, Amara explained. These are very happy tears. After the appointment, they went to Destiny's favorite restaurant to celebrate. It was a family diner chain, nothing fancy, but Destiny loved their pancakes. They ordered a feast. Pancakes, burgers, milkshakes, fries. Can I have extra whipped cream? Destiny asked. Today you can have anything you want, Amara said. It's a celebration. While Destiny was distracted by her pancakes, Harold leaned toward Julian. I need to talk to both of you about something. Something serious. They put down their forks, immediately attentive. My heart is getting worse. The doctor wants me to consider some more aggressive interventions. Possibly surgery, though at my age the risks are significant. Grandpa, Julian's voice was tight. Why didn't you tell me? I'm telling you now. I have an appointment with a cardiac specialist next week. I'd like you both there. Amara, you have a way of asking the questions I forget. Julian, you understand the medical terminology better than I do. I need you both. Of course we'll be there, Amara said immediately. Whatever you need. The thing is, Harold continued slowly, I'm not sure I want surgery. I'm 78 years old. I've had a good life. A wonderful wife, a grandson I'm proud of, friends who make me happy. If my heart is going to give out, maybe I should let it. Don't talk like that, Julian said, his voice breaking. I'm being practical. Surgery at my age has maybe a 50% success rate. If it goes wrong, I could end up worse than I am now. Unable to care for myself, trapped in a hospital bed. That's not how I want to spend my final time. But if it goes right, you could have more years, Amara pointed out gently. That's the question, isn't it? Is the risk worth the potential reward? They were quiet, the celebration mood gone. Even Destiny sensed the shift and ate her pancakes silently. Let's hear what the specialist says, Julian finally suggested. Get all the information before deciding anything. Agreed. But I wanted you both to know where I stand. I'm not afraid of dying. I'm only afraid of dying badly. The specialist appointment the following week was sobering. Harold's ejection fraction, the measure of how well his heart pumped blood, had decreased to 35%. Normal was between 50 and 70%. Without intervention, you're looking at a steady decline, the specialist explained. More fatigue, more shortness of breath, eventual organ damage from poor circulation. Quality of life will decrease significantly. And with surgery? Harold asked. We'd implant a ventricular assist device. Essentially, a mechanical pump to help your heart function. It's major surgery, about 6 hours. Recovery is 4 to 6 weeks in the hospital, then extensive rehab. Risks? At your age, there's a 15% chance of death during surgery. Another 10% chance of serious complications that could leave you impaired. Stroke, bleeding, infection. So a 75% chance of success? Roughly, yes. If successful, you could gain years of quality life. Patients with your condition who receive the device typically live 2 to 5 years longer than those who don't. 2 to 5 years. Harold absorbed this. Can I think about it? Take a few weeks. But not too long. Your heart is weakening. The sooner we intervene, the better the outcome. In the parking lot afterward, Julian was openly crying. I can't lose you, Grandpa. Not when we just found each other again. You won't lose me. Whether I have surgery or not, I'll always be with you. Eleanor taught me that. She's been gone over a year, but I still feel her presence every day. That's not the same as having you here. Harold hugged his grandson. I know, but you'll be okay. You have Amara and Destiny now. A new family. You won't be alone. I don't want a new family. I want my grandfather. You can have both. Amara drove Harold home that day. Julian followed in his own car, neither man willing to leave the other alone. At Harold's house, they made tea and sat in the living room where pictures of Eleanor covered every surface. Tell me what you're thinking, Amara said to Harold. Really thinking, not what you think we want to hear. Harold was quiet for a long time. I'm tired. Bone tired. The kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. I wake up every morning and everything hurts. My chest, my back, my legs. Moving takes effort. Breathing takes effort. I look at that surgery with its 6-hour duration and 6-week recovery, and I'm exhausted just thinking about it. But if it gives you more time, Julian started. More time for what? More pain? More decline? More watching my body fail? More time with us, Amara said softly. More Sunday lunches. More watching Destiny grow up. More stories about Eleanor. More life. Harold looked at her, then at Julian. That's the only thing that makes me consider it. You too, Destiny. Not wanting to leave you. Then don't, Julian pleaded. Have the surgery. Fight for those extra years. Let us take care of you during recovery. Let us help. And if the surgery goes wrong? If I end up in a coma or paralyzed or brain damaged? Then we'll still be there, Amara promised. Whatever happens, you won't be alone. Harold's eyes filled with tears. I don't deserve you too. You're wrong, Julian said. We don't deserve you. You saved Destiny's life. You brought Amara into our family. You taught me what actually matters. Everything good in my life right now traces back to you. Mine too, Amara agreed. You gave me hope when I had none. You showed me kindness when I was drowning. You let me keep my daughter. I owe you everything. You owe me nothing. You gave me a reason to keep living when Eleanor died. That's a debt I can never repay. They sat together as afternoon faded to evening. Made dinner together, simple pasta that no one ate much of. Talked about memories, about Eleanor, about the future they hoped to have. Finally, Harold made his decision. I'll do the surgery. Not for me but for you. Because you asked and because the love I feel for you both makes me want to fight. Even when I'm tired. Even when I'm scared. Love is worth fighting for. Julian grabbed his grandfather in a fierce hug. Thank you. Thank you for fighting. Amara joined the embrace, the three of them standing in Harold's kitchen, holding each other, bound by something deeper than blood. Family by choice. Family built on kindness and hope and love. The surgery was scheduled for September 15th. 4 weeks away. Harold insisted on keeping to their routine. Daily breakfast at the diner, Sunday lunches, Destiny's therapy appointments. Living life fully until the surgery date arrived. No moping, he declared. No treating me like I'm already gone. We're going to enjoy every day. And they did. Those 4 weeks were filled with laughter and love and making memories. Julian took time off work, something he'd never done before. They went to the park with Destiny. Visited the botanical gardens Eleanor had loved. Made elaborate Sunday dinners instead of simple sandwiches. Harold told stories about Eleanor that he'd never shared before. About their first date, when he'd been so nervous he spilled wine on her dress and she'd laughed instead of getting angry. About their wedding night when they got lost driving to their hotel and ended up sleeping in the car. About the miscarriages, 3 of them, and how they grieved together and eventually accepted they wouldn't have biological children. That's when we took in Julian, Harold explained. Your parents had just died and you were so angry at the world. But Eleanor saw through your anger to the pain underneath. She loved you immediately. We both did. Julian wiped his eyes. I never told her thank you enough. For taking me in. For loving me. She knew. Trust me, she knew. On September 14th, the night before surgery, they had one final dinner at Amara's apartment. Destiny had made a card with drawings of Harold at different stages. Harold at the diner, Harold in the park, Harold at Sunday lunch, Harold smiling. This is for when you're in the hospital, Destiny explained. So you remember to come back to us. Harold looked at the card, at this 6-year-old who'd become like a granddaughter to him, and broke down crying. I'll remember, sweetheart. I promise I'll remember. That night, after Destiny went to bed, the 3 adults sat in the small living room and talked about everything and nothing. About hopes and fears. About what Harold wanted if things went wrong. Cremation, ashes scattered in Eleanor's garden, no sad funeral but a party celebrating life. But things won't go wrong, Julian insisted. You're strong. You'll get through this. I hope so. But if I don't, you two have to promise me something. Anything, Amara said. Take care of each other. Julian, Amara is special. If you're smart, you'll figure out how to make a life with her. Amara, Julian is a good man underneath the work a human being. Let him love you. Let him love Destiny. And both of you remember me with joy, not sadness. I lived a good life. I have no regrets. They promised, both crying, holding his hands as the night deepened into early morning. At 5 a.m. they drove to the hospital together. Harold checked in, signed forms, changed into a hospital gown. The surgical team came to prep him, explaining procedures one final time. 6 hours, the surgeon said. We'll update you every 2 hours. Harold hugged Julian, then Amara. See you on the other side. See you soon, they chorused. And then he was wheeled away and all they could do was wait. The waiting room at Riverside General Hospital had uncomfortable chairs and fluorescent lighting that made everyone look sallow. Amara and Julian sat side by side, hands clasped, watching the clock tick forward with agonizing slowness. Mrs. Chin had Destiny for the day. You focus on your friend, she'd insisted. Destiny will be fine with me. The first update came at 7 a.m., 2 hours into surgery. A nurse in blue scrubs appeared. The procedure is going well. He's stable. 2 more hours at least. Julian nodded, unable to speak. Amara squeezed his hand tighter. They tried to pass time. Julian bought terrible coffee from the vending machine. Amara called Mrs. Chen to check on Destiny. They attempted to read magazines but couldn't focus on the words. What if something goes wrong? Julian whispered at one point. Then we deal with it. Together. But nothing will go wrong. Harold is strong. He's 78 with a failing heart. He's stubborn as a mule and has reasons to live. That counts for a lot. The second update came at 9 a.m. Same nurse, same message. Still going well. Getting close to finishing. By 11 a.m., Amara was pacing. Julian had given up on sitting and stood by the window, staring out at the parking lot without seeing anything. Finally, at 11:37 a.m., the surgeon appeared. Still in his surgical cap and scrubs, looking tired but satisfied. The surgery was successful. Julian and Amara both started crying immediately. The surgeon smiled. Mr. Westbrook is a fighter. The device is in place and functioning well. His heart responded better than we hoped. He's being moved to the ICU now. He'll be sedated for the next 12 hours, but barring any complications, I'm optimistic about his recovery. Can we see him? Julian asked. In about an hour, once he's settled in the ICU. 2 visitors at a time, 5 minutes each hour for today. Tomorrow we can be more flexible. They waited another hour that felt like 10. Finally, a nurse led them to the ICU. Harold lay in bed, tubes and wires everywhere, machines beeping steadily. But his chest rose and fell in a regular rhythm, and his face looked peaceful. 5 minutes, the nurse reminded them. Julian approached the bed first, taking Harold's hand carefully. You did it, Grandpa. You made it through. Harold's eyes were closed, but his fingers twitched slightly at Julian's touch. Awareness even in sedation. Amara stood on the other side. Destiny made you a card. We'll bring it tomorrow. She's waiting to see you. They stood there, silent, grateful, until the nurse indicated their time was up. The next 3 days were tense. Harold remained sedated while his body adjusted to the device. When they finally woke him on day 4, he was confused and in pain but alive. Did it work? His voice was raspy from the breathing tube they just removed. It worked perfectly, Julian told him. You're going to be okay. Good. I have Sunday lunch to get to. They laughed, crying at the same time. He was going to be okay. Recovery was long and hard. 6 weeks in the hospital just as the surgeon predicted. Physical therapy to rebuild strength. Occupational therapy to relearn daily tasks. Cardiac rehab to condition his heart device system. Amara and Julian visited every day. They brought Destiny on weekends. She'd draw pictures at Harold's bedside, chattering about school and her art class and the new book she was reading. You're getting so big, Harold said one Sunday, his voice still weak but growing stronger. I'm 7 now. Had a birthday. You missed it. I'm sorry, sweetheart. We'll celebrate when I get home. Promise. Promise. By mid-October, Harold was moved to a rehabilitation facility. By November, he was strong enough to come home with home health services. By December, he was walking on his own, though slowly. And on Christmas Eve, he insisted on coming to Sunday lunch at Amara's apartment. It was the first time in 3 months. The apartment was decorated with dollar store ornaments and a small artificial tree Destiny had helped set up. Not fancy but festive and full of love. Harold arrived with Julian supporting one arm and carrying shopping bags with the other. Santa came early, Harold announced. He bought presents for everyone. A new winter coat for Amara, since he'd noticed her old one was worn. A deluxe art set for Destiny with paints and canvases. And for Julian, a photo album filled with pictures of him as a child with his parents, and then with Harold and Eleanor. I found these in storage, Harold explained. Thought you should have them. Julian paged through the album, tears streaming down his face. Thank you, Grandpa. Thank you for saving my life. Both of you. I wouldn't have fought without you. They ate dinner together, the 4 of them crammed around the small table. Ham that Julian had brought, sweet potatoes Amara had made, rolls from the bakery. Destiny chattered about her school Christmas program where she was an angel. I wore a white dress and wings and sang songs. I wish I could have seen it, Harold said. Mama recorded it on her phone. We can watch it now. They crowded around Amara's phone, watching Destiny's performance. She sang off-key with complete confidence, her face shining with joy. Harold laughed until he cried. After dinner, Destiny showed Harold her recent artwork. She'd been drawing constantly, her skills improving dramatically. You have real talent, Harold told her. Real talent. When I grow up, I'm going to be a famous artist. And I'm going to make paintings of all of us. Our family. Our family, Harold repeated, looking around at Julian and Amara. Yes, that's exactly what we are. Later, after Destiny went to bed, the adults sat in the small living room drinking tea. Harold moved carefully, still healing, but the color had returned to his face and his eyes were bright. I have an announcement, Harold said. About the foundation I mentioned months ago. The one in Eleanor's name? Amara asked. Yes. I've been working with lawyers to set it up properly. It's going to help families like yours, Amara. Single parents struggling with children who have chronic illnesses. We'll provide grants for medical treatment, living expenses, whatever they need. That's wonderful, Amara said. And I want you to run it. Well, help run it. I'll handle the financial side, but you understand what these families need. You've lived it. You're perfect for the role. Harold, I'm just a waitress. You're a mother who moved mountains for her child. You're a woman who never gave up hope. That's the perspective this foundation needs. He pulled out more papers. There's a salary. A real salary. Enough that you won't have to work at the diner anymore unless you want to. Amara looked at the numbers and felt dizzy. This is more than I make in a year. It's what the position pays. Will you do it? She thought about all the families struggling like she had. About being able to help them the way Harold helped her. About turning her pain into purpose. Yes. Yes, I'll do it. Harold smiled. Good. We start in January. Office space is being set up now. Julian is handling the legal and financial structure. Together, we're going to help a lot of people. What about the diner? Amara asked. I've worked there for 3 years. Give notice. Leave on good terms. But Amara, this is your chance to do more. To help more people. Take it. She did. 2 weeks later, she gave Mr. Patterson her notice. He was sad to lose her but understanding. You deserve better than waiting tables. Go make a difference. January brought cold weather and new beginnings. The foundation office opened in a renovated building downtown. 3 rooms. One for Harold's financial work, one for Amara's grant management, one for meetings with families. Their first week they had 5 applications. By the end of January 27, word was spreading. Families in crisis reaching out for help. Amara interviewed each family personally. Listened to their stories. Approved grants with Harold's guidance. Watched as medical treatments became possible, as stress eased from parents' faces as hope returned. We're really doing it, she told Harold one afternoon. We're just getting started. By year-end I want to help 50 families. Maybe more. Julian came by the office every few days checking on the financial structures, offering advice. But he also came to see Amara. To bring her lunch. To make her laugh. To remind her to take breaks. Their relationship had deepened slowly over the months. First friendship, then something more. He'd started holding her hand in public. Kissing her goodbye. Looking at her like she was precious. On Valentine's Day he took her to dinner at a nice restaurant. Not fancy, just nice. Cloth napkins and real flowers on the table. I have something to tell you, Julian said over dessert. Amara's stomach fluttered. Okay. I'm in love with you. I've been for months. I know we said slow, but I can't keep pretending this is casual. It's not casual for me. You're everything. Amara felt tears prick her eyes. I love you too. I was scared to say it first. Scared of what? Of losing you. Of Terrence happening again. Of being left. Julian reached across the table and took both her hands. I'm not Terrence. I'm not leaving. Not when things get hard, not ever. You're stuck with me. You and Destiny both, if you'll have me. Destiny adores you. And I adore her. And I adore you. He pulled a small box from his pocket. I know it's fast. I know we've only been together 6 months. But I've never been more sure of anything. Marry me, Amara. Let me be your husband. Let me be Destiny's father. Let me spend the rest of my life proving I'm worth your love. Inside the box was a ring. Not huge and ostentatious, but beautiful. A sapphire surrounded by small diamonds, the band platinum. The sapphire matched your eyes, Julian explained. At least that's what the jeweler said. I just thought it was beautiful. Amara was crying openly now. Yes. Yes, I'll marry you. Julian slipped the ring on her finger, then pulled her into a kiss that made the other restaurant patrons applaud. They told Harold the next day at Sunday lunch. He'd regained enough strength to cook, and had made a roast with vegetables. Destiny helped set the table, chattering about her upcoming art show at school. We have news, Julian announced once they were seated. Harold looked up sharply. What kind of news? The good kind. We're getting married. Harold's face broke into the widest smile Amara had ever seen. Finally. I was wondering when you'd ask her. You knew I was going to? Boy, I'm old, not blind. You've been carrying that ring in your pocket for 2 weeks. I saw the box outline. They all laughed. Destiny looked confused. What does married mean? It means Julian is going to be part of our family forever, Amara explained. Would you like that? Destiny considered seriously. Will he keep bringing cookies on Sundays? I promise to bring cookies every Sunday for the rest of my life, Julian said solemnly. Then yes. I like it. They set the wedding for June, 6 months away. Small ceremony, immediate family and close friends only. Mrs. Chun was invited, along with the diner staff, Destiny's doctors, and Harold's lawyer who'd helped set up the foundation. Spring brought warm weather and blooming flowers. Destiny's health remained stable. She'd been off intensive treatment for months, just on maintenance medication and monthly checkups. Harold continued growing stronger. He'd never be fully healthy again, but the device gave him energy and mobility. He came to the office every day, managing the foundation with sharp attention to detail. The foundation helped 38 families in their first 6 months, provided over $200,000 in medical grants, changed lives, built hope. In May they held their first fundraiser. A dinner at a local hotel inviting donors and families they'd helped. Destiny, now 7.5, created the art for the invitation. A garden with flowers of many colors representing different families, all growing together. The fundraiser was successful. They raised enough money to help 20 more families. Local news covered the event. More applications poured in. We're making a difference, Harold said during his speech at the dinner. Eleanor would be so proud. She always believed in helping others. This foundation is her legacy. But it's also Amara's testimony. It's Julian's redemption. It's Destiny's hope. We're all in this together, building something beautiful from our experiences with pain and loss and love. The audience gave a standing ovation. The wedding took place on June 15th in the Botanical Gardens where Eleanor's ashes had been scattered. Small and intimate just as they'd planned. Destiny was flower girl, wearing a bright maroon dress she picked herself, scattering rose petals with theatrical flair. Harold walked Amara down the aisle. He moved slowly using his cane, but his face was radiant with joy and pride. Eleanor would have loved you, he whispered before handing her to Julian. You're the daughter we never had. The ceremony was simple. They wrote their own vows. Julian promised to cherish Amara, to be a father to Destiny, to choose love over fear every day. Amara promised to trust him, to build a life together, to believe in their future. When the officiant said, "You may kiss your bride," Julian pulled Amara close and kissed her deeply, and Destiny yelled, "Yay!" And everyone laughed and cried at the same time. The reception was in the gardens, under white tents strung with lights. They ate barbecue and danced on grass. Destiny taught Harold a spinning dance she'd learned in school. Mrs. Chin cried happy tears. The diner staff teased that Amara had moved up in the world. Moving up would be forgetting where I came from, Amara said. I remember every moment. Every struggle. Every person who helped. That's what makes this beautiful. As the sun set, painting the sky orange and pink, Amara stood with Julian's arm around her waist, watching Destiny dance with Harold, both of them laughing. We did it, she said to Julian. We built something good. You built it? I just had the sense to join you. We built it together. All of us. Harold's kindness, your willingness to change, Destiny's strength. It all matters. 6 months later, in December, the foundation held its year-end celebration. They'd helped 63 families. Provided over $500,000 in grants. Changed 63 lives directly and countless more indirectly. Harold stood to give a speech and Amara noticed he looked tired. But happy. So happy. A year ago I was dying, he began. Not just from heart failure but from loneliness and grief. I'd lost my wife. I'd lost my purpose. I was going through the motions of living without actually being alive. Then I walked into a diner and met a waitress who showed me kindness. Who listened to my stories. Who cared about an old man she had no reason to care about. That kindness saved my life. It gave me a reason to fight, a reason to have heart surgery, a reason to keep going. From that one act of kindness, look what grew. A foundation helping families. A family built on love rather than blood. Hope where there was despair. This is what happens when we choose kindness. When we lead with love. When we believe in each other. Thank you all for being part of this journey. The room erupted in applause. Destiny, sitting on Amara's lap, whispered, Is Mr. Harold crying happy tears? The happiest tears, Amara confirmed. That night, after the celebration, after Destiny was asleep, Amara and Julian sat on their small balcony watching snow fall gently on their neighborhood. They'd bought a bigger apartment, still not fancy but with space for everyone. Do you ever think about where we'd be if Harold hadn't walked into that diner? Julian asked. All the time. Destiny might not have survived. I'd probably have been evicted. Lost everything. And I'd still be working 80 hours a week, calling my grandfather every few weeks, missing what actually matters. One moment of kindness changed everything. It wasn't just one moment though. It was every moment after. Your choice to keep being kind. To accept help when it was offered. To forgive me when I didn't deserve it. To believe in us. Amara leaned against him. Kindness, hope, and love. That's what Harold always said. Let those things lead and everything else falls into place. He was right. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the snow, thinking about the year behind them and the years ahead. About Destiny growing up healthy and strong. About the foundation expanding to help more families. About Harold's continued recovery. About their marriage still new but solid. About how a simple act of kindness had rippled outward, touching so many lives, creating beauty from struggle, hope from despair. And in the morning they would wake up and do it all again. Keep showing kindness. Keep spreading hope. Keep choosing love. Because that was the only way forward. The only way that mattered. Together they were building something beautiful. One kind act at a time. Don't forget what really matters in life. Sometimes it's the smallest acts of kindness that create the biggest changes. Has anyone ever helped you in an unexpected way? Tell us your story in the comments and remember to subscribe for more heartwarming stories like this one.